What is going on, RotoGrinders? Round 2. If you're with us earlier today, we talked about the afternoon slates. Now we got some day games, bunch of them. No, night games. 9 on DK, 8 on FanDuel. There is a 2-hour break between the last game on FanDuel and the Colorado Rockies at the Dodgers. DK says, yeah, we want the Dodgers. FanDuel says no. FanDuel wants a sprint slate. So slates are a little bit different here. Also, Shohei Ohtani. He's a big difference maker. Available on DK, not on FanDuel. Myself, Dean 78904, if you want to get all technical, as well as Eric Beinfor. We dragged him away from the best ball streets for a couple hours here. Going to talk some baseball. Beer, are you still in the are you a best ball guy? Yeah, you make a punt. You're drafted away, right?
I'm probably not drafting as much as Eric, but yeah, I'm in there, Dean. So some say it's too early. I love to mix it up. A little early, a little middle, a little late, get a little bit of everything. So yeah, I'll take some time off. I was just doing drafts earlier, so we'll take some time and talk some baseball.
Chat's reminding us, Beinfor, I guess you probably got saved. I don't know, maybe you played the afternoon slate. Your guy, Jeffrey Springs, he wasn't bad. He was all right. He didn't throw a no-hitter, but he was pretty good.
He was all right. So that's all that matters. I didn't play, but I assuredly would have played him because I can't help myself. And some people playing some Mariners against him is always fun. But it's not going well for the old A's. But it's not entirely Jeffrey Springs' fault.
Eric, can you give me the hottest early? It's never too early best ball take. Who are we drafting right now that we should not be drafting, or you're drafting that I've never even heard of?
Well, sure. This is cheating a little bit, but it's also notable because of the news. Sorry, Beer. The news of yesterday, one Josh Jacobs, which no commentary on what's happening with Josh Jacobs, and it remains to be seen if anything does happen. But I was drafting Chris Brooks. And people would sometimes wonder what team he was on when you would click his name because no one has really heard of Chris Brooks, but is becoming a lot more notable in the last 24 hours. The Chris Brooks' placement on the Green Bay Packers depth chart for sure.
Beer, can you see Chris Brooks and Rays, Eric? Is there another name you have?
He really twisted the knife on me there, unintentionally.
The Brewers been twisting the knife in me for 3 days. I gotta
to be fair, before the show, how about them Brewers? So I deserve that. There's 2 guys I'm really liking so far: Chigakonkwo at tight end, and Jack Bash super late at wide receiver. Names you've probably heard of, but guys I'm higher on than most that I'm getting a lot of.
I don't want to make it a football show, but I do have. Can I ask 2 more football questions if you guys don't mind?
Sure, Dean.
Of course.
Who quarterbacks the most? Who starts the most games at quarterback for Cleveland?
Oh God,
Sean Watson.
Yep, Watson has been my bet all along.
The investment's too big. They have to, unless something else happens. I think they have to go that route.
Did you see the after their first minicamp practice? These beat writers nowadays, it's crazy. I remember the old days when we didn't know anything that was happening during training camp. Now they track every play and they post it on Twitter or whatever. So one of the Cleveland beats posted every single completion, every single passing attempt from all 4 of the quarterbacks for the Browns, and posted an image on Twitter. And the tagline was just "Defense wins 33-7 today." It was ugly, but the 7 for the offense was beautiful. It was one beautiful play. Deshaun Watson threw 1 touchdown, and all 4 quarterbacks were just atrocious.
3-run homer for J-Rod if you're playing the early, so the afternoon slate. He was one of the more popular players, and it was kind of a snooze fest. That was kind of a big deal. 3-run homer for Rodriguez. One more quick question. Maybe it's a trick question. What Dolphin receiver do I draft?
Oh, good God, Dean.
Somebody's going to catch the ball, right?
I stream for 2+ hours every single day talking about best ball, and I don't even like talking about these questions. Here's the cheating answer: Malik Washington to start and Chris Bell at the end of the season. How about that?
I'm going to say Greg Dulcich. You said pass catchers,
so okay, Greg Dulcich.
That's my answer.
The beautiful golden locks running around the field.
All right. Enough football. My apologies. Thank you for indulging me. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. What's up, chat? We got an hour and change to knock out the 9-gamer on DK. 8-gamer on FanDuel. All the lineups are in with the exception of no Colorado, no Dodgers, and no Astros. We just got the Yankees before the slate started. Let's see. Who was Volpe in, McMahon in, Wells in. Wells and McMahon left on left are in. Grisham left on left is out. No Jazz as well. So Trent Grisham yesterday was 5 for 5 against the starting pitcher and hit 3 home runs. He homered off the bullpen. Does Team BBP victory lap? Can they victory lap that? They probably did.
Oh, they will. Whether they can or not, they will.
Mm-hmm.
just got a flashback to that. I think it was against the shortstop or something at the end of the game. Maybe that was somebody else that homers. That was Rosario's second home run, possibly. Okay, this is DFS. We care about today and today only. Today, we have Shohei Ohtani. We have Jacob deGrom. Speaking of homers, that dude's been giving up homers in bundles of late. Starting to look 37. I think he's 37. Maybe it's just a blip. I don't know. Nothing as far as precipitation, as far as rain. We should be good to go. That, I checked out to see what Roth had to say, and really nothing alarming. We'll keep an eye on Twitter, but as of right now, I assume every game plays. No extremely hot environments where the ball is going to be jumping. Last night it was the Dodgers, it was the Yankees. Not terribly surprising, and 2 of the more popular teams on the slate once again. Before we do the old deep dive as far as straight just pitchers, I want to know just the overview, how we're attacking this slate, the old 30,000 foot view, for how we see the slate tonight.
This one is a little bit tricky, I feel like. Speaking DraftKings specifically, we can talk a little bit about the FanDuel spin in a little bit, because I think you kind of start with Shohei Ohtani and you probably start with the Dodgers as well. And I've been trying to build lineups all afternoon to get these awesome Dodgers, maybe even some of the chats mentioning some of these other offenses that I do like. Unless you're willing to get really uncomfortable with some cheap pitchers, we'll talk about some of them for sure. If we want to keep attacking the lowly Mets and such, we do have some $4,000 pitchers that I don't know how long they're going to go. But unless you're willing to get pretty darn uncomfortable, Bubba Chandler, right, is down there off of an 11 the random Bubba Chandler 11 strikeout game. If you're willing to get uncomfortable, it gets a little bit easier to fit your Dodgers. It does sort of hilariously make it easier that Ohtani is pitching, since on DraftKings you cannot play him as a hitter. But they're all still really expensive, right? Andy Pages is just crushing every single day. Mookie had a big game yesterday. Prices continually going up. It's not easy to fit those Dodgers. So you sort of have to draw a line in the sand, I think, on what you're like. You cannot fit all these Dodgers. You can't with Judge, if you like Brandon Lowe or O'Neal Cruz. Like the bats you really, really want to play are expensive today on DraftKings. Yeah. And so the problem is, so is the pitching. You also want to, you mentioned Jacob deGrom. He looks good. Shohei Ohtani is, I think, the SP1 on the slate fairly clearly. There's some a little bit lower owned, but still not that cheap, right? Casey Mize is 8,500. That's great. It's not that cheap. Jose Soriano is going to be pretty low owned relative to what he's been a lot of this year because of the other options, but he's $10,000. So there's just, it's this weird thing that we got to find some value options and get a little bit uncomfortable with some value. I think either at your SB2 spot or in some hitters that are just bad or really unproven or what have you. Because I find it difficult to play lineups that don't at least have one of these stud pitchers, because I just think you're giving up too many raw points, even though the value bats are not very good. But I also want some of these spend up bats. So it's a difficult actual roster build, and I haven't found that to be the case a lot of this year. But it's a pretty tricky slate, and you got to cut some corners somewhere, whether it be at that SB2 or at some value bats.
Yeah, general default for me is just spend up a pitcher. Pitchers are more predictive than the arm. The arms are more predictive than the bats, and just kind of figure it out. By the way, no Paredes in that Houston lineup. Just a heads up, Houston lineup did drop. I think otherwise it's pretty much as expected. Still waiting for Colorado and LA. That does mean we have every lineup in for FanDuel. My main lineup does have, you kind of mentioned him, Casey Mize and Ohtani on DK. And I think that's the way it's probably, I'll probably do some tinkering on the show, but yeah, I got several power bats. I want to attack. You mentioned home runs. Jameson Taillon, I want to say nobody's got more homers than Taillon this season. Yep. 2.77 per 9. That seems like a lot. I know the homer to fly ball is a little bit unlucky, 20.5%, but tons of fly balls, and especially like Brandon Lau, who seems overpriced until he hits a homer or two, and all of a sudden He's a big separator at that terrible second base position. Beer, your attack mode, how we're attacking the slate. Again, a little bit different on FanDuel where you can't play Ohtani. Just the pitching pool, it gets diminished pretty quickly. Your thoughts, Beer, before we fully dive in as far as the pitchers.
I like it because there's a lot of ways you can go. And I agree with Eric. It's not the easiest slate. I mean, it's easy to lock in Ohtani. Then I think the decision is, do I spend up on another pitcher? Do I roll one of these 4K crappers, as we used to call them back in the day, and roll the dice there to get some more expensive bats in? Do I find value in the bats? So I think there's a lot of different paths, which is great. Outside of these, two high-end pitchers, ownership should be pretty spread out amongst the rest of the guys, amongst your favorite stack that's not named the Dodgers if you're on DraftKings. So I think there are some low-owned spots that we can definitely take advantage of. And you mentioned Tyon. That's one I definitely want some exposure. Not only giving up the most, like lapping the field, 17 home runs. We're not even the June yet. So, and he struggles with lefties. So the beautiful thing, Pittsburgh's got a lot of lefties in that lineup that hit.
It's a revenge game, though.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
is he feeling vengeful?
I don't know.
How vengeful does one feel getting out of Pittsburgh? I
hope he's feeling generous. It's a beautiful ballpark if you've ever been. I'll give it that. It's
one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite ballparks in the entire league.
I've heard that. Have not been.
I think it's my favorite I've ever been to. I haven't been to every single one of them, but yeah, Detroit's really nice too, Beer. I like Detroit, but I would not.
I was just there yesterday.
There you go.
Taking in the game. Beautiful
underrated.
Weather. Yeah, right. Very, very nice.
You mentioned the 4K crappers. You kind of teased them a couple of times here, Eric. I don't know if I need it. It's there. And yeah, are you alive? Are you professionally trained to throw baseballs and you're 4K and you have a decent length as far as the pitch count? And then all of a sudden, I guess, David Sandlin and, the Twins are not a team that we're necessarily afraid of, right? Like this Alex Jackson, Keishel's been a massive disappointment this season. I know there's some power, of course, with Buxton. Buxton's, one of the better hitters in all of baseball, but he only gets to hit so many times. I did not get there on Sandlin. I'm still making a couple lineups here on the fly. Maybe I'll have a little bit of fun and open things up. But is that somebody you're considering? I don't know. You're like a one main lineup guy. I can't imagine you're playing David Sandlin on your one main lineup, but you tell me.
He's in my pool. I haven't found that's what this show is for. Once I saw Beer on the schedule, I said I'm not going to finish my lineup first. Dean, I talk to you frequently. We'll figure this out. We'll put our heads together and we'll figure this thing out. But Sandlin is in the pool. So I would say between so first of all, there's technically three guys, but one of them isn't a reliever opener, right? For Tong for the Mets. Sandlin is the guy if I were playing a 4K crapper on the slate, not Trey Gibson. Trey Gibson is both not very good and also not stretched out. The issue for Sandlin, he actually has a lot of strikeout upside. In the minors, he has really hefty strikeout rates. And as you said, the Twins are not a lineup that we fear. They're a little bit annoying. They're kind of like my Cardinals. Like they have just a couple of hitters that are good, and they're just like kind of annoying to pick. Like you don't get a ton of ceiling performances against them, even though it feels like maybe you should. But I don't need that, right? For $4,000, just like give me 4 innings and strike out some guys and don't give up a bunch of runs, and you're totally fine with that here. So it's in play for me because of what we talked about. What you're betting on is him giving you a okay, like 10, right? Give me 10 points. Nobody, DeGrom maybe gives up another couple home runs. Casey Mize doesn't strike out 8 guys, and you're like, this is fine. This is totally fine. Now I can get the Dodgers. Now I can get Brandon Lowe. Now I can get Judge or whatever it is that you want. He would be the guy, but he is really not stretched out either. He started, I believe, 6 games in the minors and has never gone 5 innings, I believe, is the stat. Something right. Like that. Yep. It's something similar to that, even if it's not that, if that's not perfectly correct. So he's not really stretched out. And so, again, you understand what you're getting. I genuinely think he's in play. In MME, I would definitely be playing him in my pool. But in a single lineup, I don't know if I'll get there. I'm probably moving up to the Andrew Abbott tier and just seeing if this Mets thing is gonna keep It's 2 in a row, dude. I'm gonna keep riding the streak, right? It's just keep betting black. If it keeps turning up black, I guess that's what we do.
I think the way Cheese said in the article today was that dude for the Reds, Andrew Abbott is bad, but the Mets are worse. So I guess that's kind of the way he laid it out. And Yeah, I don't mind Andrew Abbott either. It's relatively cheap. It's good weather there for that ballpark for what it's worth. But this Mets team is really, really rough. I know producer Steve let us know he'll be happy to jump on, and he's already got the Mets in the bottom tier, I imagine, as far as tiers we'll talk about soon enough. By the way, for what it's worth, we are projecting pitch wise for Sandlin 75 pitches. So yeah, not fully stretched out, dependent upon how he's doing. Lots of strikeouts, lots of walks as you get from young pitchers in the minors. That's kind of what I saw. A lot of strikeouts, a lot of walks. Not the biggest prospect in the organization. I think 10th according to FanGraphs. So it's not like an uber prospect or anything, but he could be something. We shall see. Beer, you have like a one main lineup thing. You're MMEing. What's your mode of attack here? And talk to me about your pitcher pool.
One lineup for me, and Sandlin is really tough to pull the trigger in one lineup for a lot of reasons. You guys laid out a lot of them. I do like the matchup. I mean, we're talking about a very strikeout-happy Minnesota team. I mean, top 5 in strikeouts against right-handed pitching, even walks. They're middle of the pack, so they're not drawing a ton of walks here. But I am worried. How far can he go in this game? Can he give you enough? I think he can, but in one lineup, I think you're going to see Ohtani, Sandlin, Dodgers, fill in the rest. So it's going to be a pretty common build, and you can get different with it for sure. But I don't think it's necessary in one lineup unless you really change things up, get a little bit different. MME for sure. I mean, anytime you can get a 4K pitcher in there, it's going to unlock the bats. The other issue with using him, I think there's some guys that are underpriced, so I would much rather attack some of these cheap bats on teams we'll talk about, get the value that way, and you can still end up, in the 8 to 9K tier for your SP2 and still have it a formidable hitting lineup. So is it intriguing? Yes. Again, building a lot of lineups, absolutely. Should be mixed in there. But one lineup, I think it's tough going that route unless you really get different.
You're making one lineup on DK. You're just playing Ohtani, right? You just play him?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I know.
It's the Rockies.
Baseball.
It's the Rockies.
It's Ohtani.
Yeah,
it's the Rockies.
He's like the best pitcher in baseball, right up there. Him and the Miz, I guess, are the best pitchers, and he's 10-7. He's not. Remember the old maybe later this year we'll get to these superstars are like 13-5 and stuff like that, and it becomes really prohibitive. It's prohibitive today because the bats we want are expensive, but 10-7 in and of itself is not prohibitive.
He got hit in the hand last night. They were winning by a ton. They took him out for precautionary reasons. It was his pitching hand, I believe, but he's fine. As far as I can tell, he's fine. He's good to go. I thought there was a chance he might not play today, but yeah, no issues there. I'm just playing Ohtani, and that's that. SB2, DeGrom. He can't just keep giving up 3 or 4 home runs a game.
Yeah,
right.
That's it. This is one I see the price, I see the ownership, and don't really have a ton of interest. If he was lower owned, sure, but a 30% DeGrom, why not go up to Ohtani? And if you're cramming both those guys in your lineup, you're really digging deep in the bats. So I don't know that is the optimal way to build tonight. I have a lot of concerns with him. Ohtani, not many concerns. Yes, it's baseball. Anything can happen. Colorado could get to him, sure. Likely, no. DeGrom, like you guys mentioned, the home runs are a concern. Matchup isn't as good. I just have way more concerns with him tonight he to me, easy fade in the high-end pitching. I think there's better options. Hell, I'd rather have Soriano at way less ownership if I'm going that route. Save money in Casey Mize, who gets the best strikeout matchup. The Angels lapping the field in strikeouts against righties. And yes, put up a ton of runs yesterday. A lot of that came against the bullpen. Mize, the problem with Mize, we've seen the good and the bad. You've gotten some 3s and 4s, and those have come on the road in some tougher spots. Atlanta, Minnesota, 20 or more DraftKings points in 5 of his 8 starts. So, fairly consistent, and those strikeouts will certainly be there. 3 guys in that lineup over 30%. So I'd rather save the money and go that route with a Casey Mize.
I believe that was from the 6-pack today, if I'm not mistaken. You were firing off some 6-pack stats. Was it Mize in there?
It was.
There you go. All right. Yeah, that's currently in my lineup, but I am challenge accepted. You talked about playing Ohtani and DeGrom together. I'm doing it. I don't care. Whatever. I'll play some terrible hitters. I'll make it happen. I'm going to make something on the fly here. I'm going to try to see how we can. Well, we do a little more what salary caps to make things kind of tricky, but that is what I'm going to try to do here on the fly. Bubba Chandler getting mentioned in chats. Yeah, a lot of Uber prospects. Chandler one time, mega prospect. Mize, lots of injuries. I think he was the number one pick, if I'm not mistaken, or top 5 out of all.
One. Yep.
It seems like he's starting to figure it out. And you talk about the matchup there against the Angels. The lineup today, 28.3% striking out versus righties dating back to last season. There's Vaughn Grisham, who's contact heavy. There's Wade Meckler in a really, really small sample. I don't really believe that to be true. 14.3%, 1 strikeout in 7 at-bats. But and Donovan Walton. If Wade Meckler and Donovan Walton changed jerseys, they did like a little Freaky Friday swap. Would you guys notice? Would anybody
if they
notice?
showed up on this stream right now, I wouldn't. I wouldn't tell them apart from.
Yeah.
If
one
of
I would
them
have saw him at the game yesterday, I would have been like, "Who are
Your
these
Wade,
guys?"
Those are MLB The Show creative players, brother.
Yeah.
Like I'm still not convinced that they're real. Wade Meckler is 26, and Walton is like. So these aren't like. You see a new name sometimes, and you have to forgive me. I don't know who Wade Meckler is, and you see the new names like him and Donovan Walton. I'm like, oh, Angels called up the prospects, and I'm like, nope. They're like 26. Donovan Walton is 32 years old, and Wade Meckler is 26. So these are not prospects. These are Josh Lowe was so bad they were like, let's just try anything else, please.
And cool for them. Like, they were grinding the minors for years, and again, good for them. But yeah, that's I'm reminded of seeing the story about how they did not trade Ohtani a couple of years ago when they had like a 0.0001% chance of making the playoffs, and Artie Moreno, and apparently they could have got Junior Caminero, and it's just like such dopes. Like, how did you knew he wasn't going to stay there? Like, yeah, all right. I don't. I'm getting a flashback to that. I went on some rants back in the day. That was just the dumbest thing. The Angels not trading away Ohtani.
Can I ask? The Knicks have dead and buried the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs got to do something crazy too, right? Like they're not winning the championship with 37-year-old James Harden and Donovan Mitchell and stuff. I don't know what they got to do, but you can't just run it back, right? It's like the Angels. Like it's over. Turn the page.
James
start
Harden said, I don't know if you heard James Harden. He said, "We are the better team."
Yeah.
Dude, and he played really well.
Analytically, Cavs won the series.
Yeah.
Best of 9, the Cavs would have come back and won that 5-4.
Analytically, I keep making a lot of money on DraftKings, but my account.
Analytically, I win every night on DK.
James Harden, the mercenary.
Just for him to say though, I played really well when your team got swept. Dude, read the room. No, you didn't, first of all. And you didn't win a damn game, and it wasn't even close. Right. No, they got to do something. And you hear Giannis, you hear the LeBron whispers. I think Harden is done. He's just not the same player.
Cooked, man. Yep.
Well, he's always been like a much better player in the regular season. And, that's it. That happened. That played out one more time. And he's not all of a sudden going to become a great playoff player at 37, 38. No. That's just over, All right. Back to the slate. Anything else that we should say as far as pitchers I'm trying to see ownership-wise who should be of notes? We mentioned Soriano in passing. He feels just like what is his upside? I guess he could go a lot of innings. If the ground balls are working, the BABIP's on his side. Obviously, he wasn't what he was to start the season, but he still has had some pretty solid games. I don't think I'm getting much else. FanDuel, when there's no Ohtani, there's just one pitcher, Eric. Who are you playing on FanDuel?
I think Mize is still my favorite there. Look how skinny he was.
Wow.
That is the no beard. I guess it's just the beard.
Wait, that's James Harden.
That's like a 22-year-old. 23-year-old.
Why is he not in
why he grew a beard?
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. I think it's Mize for me on FanDuel. Soriano becomes more appealing on FanDuel. I'm pretty much on the same page as Beer. It's not that the ground can't have a good game, of course. I mean, the Houston lineup is not anything to write home about either. They got a bunch of creative players as well in the second half of that lineup. I expect DeGrom's going to have a good game, but I think some of he's old. Speaking James Harden, they're the same age, right? Jacob DeGrom and James Harden, I think
37. I think DeGrom
37. It's not that he's not still really good. It's just he's kind of it feels a little like James Harden-esque. It's like, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to pump these heaters. I'm going to pepper the strike zone, right? That's what he does. It still has awesome stuff, but he throws a ton of strikes, and sometimes that leads to fastballs down the middle. And he's not 30-year-old Jacob deGrom anymore, where like that's him throwing a fastball down the middle was unhittable in his prime. It's not unhittable anymore. And so he makes just enough mistakes that the power, I think, is a little bit real. The upside is there, but the ownership is there too. If he weren't super popular, if everybody was playing Soriano, we'd be like, oh my God, we're playing DeGrom, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's not the case. So I tend to like those other guys. FanDuel, it's a little bit different too, right? Where quality start and win stuff can be so much more important over there than it is on DraftKings. So I like some of those other guys. I just want to shout out one more name because I know Stevie tagged him, and I think he's like, again, more like MME. A lot of us are smaller, few lineup type guys, but Burrows for Houston. He's $7,000 on DraftKings. I think he's in that mix for like, if you're playing a cheap SP2, he's not very good, but similarly, the Rangers are also not very good. No Corey Seager. That lineup is pretty brutal. Anytime I see Nicky Lopez pop up in a lineup, that always, now he's not going to strike Nicky Lopez out, but he's probably going to get him to ground out to second base.
You're begging for a double if you have Nicky Lopez.
He's going to come up with the bases loaded in the second inning or something and hit a gapper. But I think Burrows is pretty good against righties. Now they only have, I think, 4 righties in the lineup. But like, could he grind out a solid game here? I think so. He's not like a complete gas can. He's mediocre, and the Rangers are below average.
What have I told you? DeGrom and Ohtani had the same exact Sierra this year.
I would tell you that, as Josh Hart said, analytics are like lampposts to a drunk person. You can lean on them, but they can't take you home.
It's a good line. You're an analytics guy. I think you like analytics.
Course. And I got so offended at first. It hit me deep to my core. I'm a threes and dunks guy as well. And he said it, and I was like, he's so right, though. It's so right. You can take the shot quality and shove it when the Knicks sweep you 4-0, brother.
16.9% swinging strike rate for DeGrom, which is the highest in the slate if we're not counting Jonah Tong, and I'm not counting Jonah Tong because that's 3 innings. I'm playing some DeGrom. I know you guys are talking about ownership stuff, and as we speak right now, I'm making my double barrel Ohtani DeGrom lineup. Anything else as far as pitchers, or shall we talk about some sticks? We got to get a move on. Talking about the batters.
I will give an honorable mention to Bryce Elder just because he's going against Boston. So, pretty easy rule. Anybody against Boston is in play. His price, I think more people will never end up on Mize, but I think you can play him in a MME type setting just for that matchup.
Seeing the passing of Bob Horner. Sorry to hear that.
Yep.
Former Atlanta Brave. If you're old enough, you remember watching the old TBS games with Dale Murphy.
Yep.
Bob Horner and Dale Murphy, to me, like in my brain, are kind of synonymous on those old Atlanta teams. All right, let's talk about some tiers today, boys. As I was watching some afternoon baseball, I was like, what is today's tiers category? And I actually pivoted. I changed to something else because I wanted to give the updated list, to the updated Dustin power rankings. We had to update the Dustin power rankings on the fly. They were much different earlier today, but in the last couple hours they have changed. I guess I'm kind of like telling you that Dustin May is going to be the number 1 Dustin in all the world because Dustin May threw a no-hitter. Still lost. Well, I guess he didn't officially get the L, right? But they did lose to the Brewers once he exited the game. The Brewers ended up taking the lead, so shout out to Beer to your brew crew. But who is the best Dustin, if not Dustin May? I know it's a high ceiling we're setting. Best Dustin in the world is who?
2 come to the top of my head. Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
And if you don't have Screech on this list, Dean.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I said the best.
I don't know what we're doing here.
Is he in the basement? Is Screech
come on.
The
I mean, yeah.
Come on.
I
mean, it's seriously, you're going to stand for Dustin Diamond?
Absolutely.
Not as a person, but as a
but to be on this list, yeah.
I like Kanye's music, but I don't like the guy. I don't like the guy.
There he is. With the Mets already pre-placed.
Yeah, we're not going to change that. Well, maybe we will. We shall see. But yeah, shout out to Dustin May. We threw a no-hitter earlier today. Dustin Hoffman. I think on most other days, Dustin Hoffman probably the number 1 Dustin, I would imagine. Shout out Rain Man.
Sure.
Dustin Pedroia, not very likable, but he was a good baseball
player, man. for sure.
You got to give him his due. And then Dustin Rhodes, who, of course, everybody remembers more so as Gold Dust.
Gold Dust, yeah. The artist formerly known. Yeah.
Was he the artist formerly known as Gold Dust? I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had a lot of characters. And speaking of the Rhodes, when you think of Bob Horner, you think of Dusty Rhodes. I mean, they look like twins. There's a lot of good tweets out there. Yes, for sure.
Poirier,
so.
yeah.
Dustin Poirier is an MMA fighter, I believe. That's not really my wheelhouse. Yeah, who else received votes? Dustin Ackley, he's a 5-hole guy as well.
Dustin Johnson, the golfer Dustin Johnson is someone in the honorable mention.
Oh, there you go. Dustin. Was he Dusty or Dustin?
I don't watch Stranger Things, so I don't know, but I did a quick Google and that did pop up.
Not a lot of famous Dustins.
Dustin Brown, the hockey player for the Kings. Buffuglen, I think he was on Buffalo. Is he still playing hockey, Buffuglen? He might be.
No, I don't think so.
He's gone? Okay. All right, so there you go. That is our board. Shout out to Dustin May for his no-hitter / no decision earlier today. Beer, you won the coin toss. You won the coin toss backstage. Let's do it. Let's get a move on. Let's throw some teams into some tiers. First game, 6:35 on the East Coast. It's the Rays, the O's. Trey Gibson taking on Steven Matz, 9 total. Coin toss here. Both teams here with a respectable 4.5 total. Where are we throwing the O's and the Rays, Beer?
I will start with Baltimore. Steven Matz, a pitcher we did not bring up, and I think with good reason. He's really struggling with righties, had some BABIP luck on his side, so not a big strikeout guy, sitting around 20%. So you negate some of the strikeout concerns. We know Baltimore, that lineup is littered with strikeouts, but there's some bats in there that I like for Baltimore tonight, specifically Pete Alonso. Ward, you worry about pinch hit risk. The numbers look good, but how many at-bats is he going to get? But Mayo's been solid against lefties. I think Baltimore, I'm going to put in the Dustin Hoffman tier here, Dean. Yeah. Tampa Bay, probably in the same. Gibson's a guy like we talked about with the value pitchers. I don't have any interest here. I don't know what to expect with him. I think they belong in the Hoffman tier as well. Really like Caminero in the spot. So both of these teams, I think you can full stack. They both feel more like a mini stack to go along with, some of the teams that are going to end up in the Dustin May tier, Dodgers, and we won't give it all away. But I think there's some nice mini stacks or even one-off kind of power plays on both of these teams. So I will land them both in the Dustin Hoffman tier.
Before I go to Eric, I'm just now realizing I was watching the Cardinals game, and I thought it was the bullpen that gave it up. May actually did not have a no-hitter. He gave up 2 hits, and I missed that. So, again, I said these are the updated Dustin power rankings. We're going to update the update, and Hoffman goes 1, and May is now 2. We gotta update this, Steve. Hoffman really is 1. So I thought it was a no-hitter. That's on me. My bad. So now it's Hoffman.
In fairness, if Dustin May goes that long without giving up a hit, it's kind of like he threw a no-hitter for
that's a win.
It's sort of,
sure.
But where's his Oscar? Does Dustin Hoffman have an Oscar? He might.
He has to.
Rain Man?
I would assume so.
He has to.
I'm not sure. I'll give that a Google. Do we like now? Now I'm going to say May, but that's the 2-hole, Eric. Again, this changed. Shout out to producer Steve adjusting. This is the live minute-by-minute updates of the power rankings of Dustin. Baltimore, Tampa, does that work for you?
Yeah, Beer hit on it. The only pushback I would have is I agree that it's a little bit more mini stacky, but I think they have some of the better bats actually on the slate, especially when we sort of start to account for price. Aranda's a really good first baseman, I think, today. And so I have no real strong pushback, but I think as you start to build lineups, the full 5-mans feel a little bit better elsewhere. So like Beer said, these guys fit as pieces alongside maybe some of your other favorite stacks, or you play a cheap stack and then instead of spending up on your Dodgers, you play Pete Alonso and you play Caminero and stuff, and that's how you get different. So Dustin Hoffman did win a Best Actor for 2 movies, Rain Man and then Kramer versus Kramer, where he got a divorce. He did not get it for
what's the Ben Stiller movie when he was Meet the Parents? He got snubbed at Meet the Parents. No Oscar for Dustin Hoffman there. You got the next game. It's Chicago, Pittsburgh, Bubba Chandler, Jameson Taillon here, Eric. We did mention the fly ball woes, the home run woes for Taillon. Tons of fly balls, tons of balls going over the fence, 2.77 per 9. That is too many. Love we kind of talked about Brandon Lau a couple times. O'Neal Cruz, the power is ridiculous. How do we feel about the Cubbies and the Pirates?
I don't know if this is a hot take. I'm putting the Pirates all the way up in Dustin Hoffman.
Sir.
I think Jameson Taillon is that bad. For anyone that doesn't know, this is not even just like I guess this is all technically a blip on the radar in the grand scheme of baseball things. Go look at his spring training stats. If you're curious why this is all going so poorly in the regular season, it was worse. It was so much worse than it can get worse, is what I'm saying with Jameson Taillon. He's just been brutal. I think he's totally cooked. Like I think it's just over. It's James Harden is less cooked than Jameson Taillon is. I love the Pirates. They have some really great lefties. They have some value, even if they're not lefties. They have some really nice value that makes some things work. What's his name? The kid hitting at the bottom of the order.
Valdez.
Has a ton of power. He's a big old hoss. That's a big boy, and
he's in my Ohtani DeGrom lineup. Spoiler.
He's probably the best punt from a power perspective for sure. And then the matchup is obviously great. Cubs, I'm going to put in Pedroia. I still believe like this. What we've seen from the Cubs is not really like completely what they are. I mean, the loss of Kyle Tucker, I think, is showing to be a pretty big deal for this offense. It's not great. Like you don't ever really feel that great about the full stack or anything. But Bubba Chandler is one of those guys that can blow up for sure. He can get he had the big game last outing, but he has a bunch of mediocre games alongside that. I think the Cubs can definitely hit a couple of home runs here off of Chandler, run him out of there quickly and have a good game, but they're not at the top, but I wouldn't put them. They're definitely not down with the Mets in Screech.
Screech. Dustin Screech. Beer, how did Bimeford do?
He did well, and you know I'm not going to stand for this Screech besmirching. By the way, so I'm glad that he's on the list. If he wasn't on the list, I might have. You guys might have had a 2-man booth. So just want to get that out there.
It's not with respect though, because he's in the 5 hole. But
he's below
perfectly that he's in the 5 hole. Like it's kind of one of the movies, Dean. It's good because it's bad. That's Dustin Diamond. So Pittsburgh is my favorite stack on tonight's slate, and I'm going to say ahead of the Dodgers even. So love that they're up in the Hoffman tier. This guy Eric nailed it. He's done. I mean, Taillon has been so bad. A 333 ice to the lefty, Dean, and that's on a BABIP of 206. So these numbers could be even worse. He's actually been a little bit lucky against lefties. 17 home runs already, as we mentioned. A lot of lefties in this lineup. Cruz is expensive. Lau not bad. Horwitz, I think, is one of the best values on the slate, but this line, even the righties are in play. You guys mentioned some of the value there. So absolutely love Pittsburgh. Chicago, I'm going to move up a tier. I think they belong in the May tier. Again, Chandler struggles with lefties. There are some lefties in this lineup. Yes, it's been a slow start for a lot of them, but I think PCA gets it going sooner rather than later. Bush has been a nice surprise. Tucker obviously would help, this rating and this lineup even more, but I'm going to move them up a little bit. I think this is one of the games you could stack this game on both sides and be pretty happy with it. The pitchers are that bad. Chandler has potential. Taillon, toast.
I don't want to be the actually guy here because I goofed already, even worse than you did. You were talking about the BABIP for Taillon. So technically, when the ball goes over the fence, it's not in play. Batting average on balls in play. So that's not counted as a hit. Like it's not counted for batting average on balls in play.
Right. The point being the numbers are still horrible, and he's been somewhat lucky on a lot of that. So he's bad is the point.
I misunderstood the point you're making then. That's my bad. I thought you were saying like
his expected WOBA is higher than his actual WOBA allowed to lefties, and he's still been this bad. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm attacking him with Pirates. All right, so we're gonna move the Cubs up to May tier 2. Beer, talk about the Angels and Jose Soriano, Casey Mize, 7.5 total. I think the bats here are going to be mostly ignored. You tell me.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a lot of, both of these guys are not going to be quite as owned, as some of the higher end pitchers, the Ohtani, the DeGroms of the world. But I think these will be the next two guys that people go to. So Soriano's interesting, got off to that red hot start, kind of coming back down to earth a little bit, which we all expected. But I think a lot of people think it's going to just keep dropping, with Soriano. And in this spot, I think it's a very good spot for him. So not a lot of Tigers bats that are interesting. McGonigal, I think, gets it going against righties sooner than later. Riley Green. Some of these guys can cause some problems for Soriano, who still gives up a lot of hard contact to lefties. That being said, I'm not gonna screech the Tigers. I'm gonna put them in the gold dust tier because there are a few bats I think are interesting. Same story on LA. As much as I like Casey Mize, like we mentioned, he has had some starts that just haven't gone very well. And Trout has always hit righties well. That's the Achilles heel for Casey Mize this season. So a Trout, a Soler, players like that, where maybe a three-man's a little much, but one-off, couple power plays, a cheap Soler play. That being said, they're going to go in gold dust as well. I don't think either team belongs in the basement, but really hard to get excited about either of these offenses. I think both pitchers pitch well in this game.
Eric, any adjustments?
No real adjustments. I'll just say that producer Steve sort of ruined the screech tier for me, just because now I'm judging. It's like I grade everything on a curve, right? And so the Mets, the Mets are just so bad that it's hard to I'm not playing the Tigers. I have truly zero interest in playing the Tigers tonight against Soriano, and so I guess maybe if the Mets weren't preloaded down there, I might push back on that. But I think the Mets are almost, not entirely. The Rockies do exist, which we'll get to later. But the screech tier is on a different level of bad tonight, so I'm fine with those guys in gold dust.
That's not just screech; that's a screech from the college years. So that's
college years screech, right?
College years.
Oh boy,
screech on the beach, baby.
Was it Mike Golick or Bob Golick? One of the Golick brothers was in that for inexplicably for no particular reason. Okay, Atlanta taking on Boston, 8.5 total. Bryce Elder against Connolly early. This is Eric's board to set for us. What do you got?
This one feels like semi-straightforward. I feel very similarly about the Red Sox to what Beer just talks about with the Tigers and the Angels. They're not Bryce Elder is not as good as the Ohtanis and such of the world, and the lineup is definitely not as bad as like the Mets and the Rockies. So I would put them in the Dustin Rhodes tier, and then the Braves are just an awesome offense, but they don't quite stack up with the top. So they'd be my first Pedroia team today with the Braves. I mean, they're really good. Early is talented, but similar to kind of like the Bubba Chandler type stuff. He's not all the way there yet, and I don't know exactly how good he'll be long term. But I'm not like jumping out of my chair to attack him, even with a good offense like the Braves. But I think again, similarly, that's more of my like single entry type approach. If I were playing MME, I would be playing some Braves, whereas I don't know that I would be playing the Red Sox.
Just want to note that Weather Edge likes this game a good bit. 151 game sample. It's a pretty big size. 23% bump in homers, 82 temp. Winds blowing about 6 miles per hour toward right center. 7% bump in runs. By the way, Steve, he tried to get Boston and Pedroia, which does make sense, but we couldn't quite get there. Beer, any adjustments here?
I can't make it happen for Boston. I'm debating throwing them down a level, but you mentioned the weather there. Elder is a guy I think pitches well tonight. I don't want a ton of exposure to Boston, but I could see going after a bat or two here. Atlanta, I'll agree, kind of middle of the road. It's a good offense. Matchup's not great. Early's been pretty solid, but those bats can get it done against anybody. I don't think they're an upper echelon stack or anything tonight, but middle of the road feels about right for them.
All right, so no tie breaking on my part necessary. Reds and the Mets. I guess it's already a foregone conclusion unless you guys disagree, but Andrew Abbott's taking on the Mets. Abbott is a slight favorite here. Tong expected to be the long man. We do have a righty opener, which is always – Look, why would you not flip it? But whatever. Okay, they're going right. That's what the Mets do. They also want Carson Benz to hit more than Juan Soto. That's their choice. Beer, Reds, Mets. What do you got?
I feel like the Mets, we've already established where they go. I mean, I don't want Steve attacking me if I try to move him out of that tier. If I'm rating him, I would put no. Let's not get crazy here. Let's pump the brakes. I would put them in the Rhodes tier because I am not an Andrew Abbott believer. As frustrating as it's been, I still think, there's a few guys in this lineup, Bichette, guys like that pose some risk for Andrew Abbott in this one. So I'm not going to leave him there. You guys want to move him back down? I ain't mad about it. I'll say that. But I'm going to move them up one tier. Since he's interesting, it's tough when you have these openers, long relievers, and it's kind of a guessing game here. But I do like their offense. That being said, I don't like them quite as much as I would like the Braves. So we're gonna jam another one in the Gold Dust tier here with the Reds.
Gold Dust getting a lot of partners, most popular tier so far. By the way, I should mention again, I talked about whether Reds liking Boston. Does like New York as well. Not as much, 102 game sample, but a 16% bump in homers, a 13% bump in runs, 82 to temp, and wind blowing out toward right center, 11 miles per hour. So, the baseline's not good for that ballpark for hitting, but slightly better than it typically is. By and far, are we going to lobby to get the Mets back with Dustin Diamond, with Screech, or are we going to keep it as is?
No, it's funny because I think Andrew Abbott is genuinely playable tonight because the Mets are terrible, and the only thing he can do is get lefties out. And luckily for him, the only guys who can hit, I guess, aside from Bo Bichette in the Mets lineup, are left-handed, specifically Juan Soto. Now, Juan Soto can hit anyone. He can certainly hit Andrew Abbott. But, Benji the dog and such, these guys, not spectacular, and then also left-handed. So I think you can play Andrew Abbott. But I also think I'm not predicting a Mets shutout again here, okay? I think that they probably actually scrape across some runs. They maybe even, dare I say, hit a home run tonight. And so I think that the Mets, we're begging for value. And outside of Juan Soto, these guys are pretty cheap. So I think that there's appeal to Mets stacks, mini stacks, one-offs, whatever.
Who's your favorite value play on is it Vientos? I'm trying to think the best. It's probably Vientos, right? If you're going to pick one cheapie on New York?
I guess, yeah.
Simeon?
Yeah.
I mean, I would like it to be AJ Ewing, but also left-handed. I just want to say this Eric Wagman fella that is in the lineup, another creative player in a lineup today, is also he's $2,000 first base outfield, and it may become tempting. He projects well, point per dollar, right? Which is not a huge thing in baseball. Terrible, absolutely horrible. But he's facing Andrew Abbott, so I guess you could do worse.
Yeah, he played a good chunk for the Marlins last year. Pretty uneventful. He's there, right? Professionally trained to swing a bat and hit a baseball. So maybe. And to be fair, versus lefties last year, yeah, the ISO at 181 is pretty solid. The WOBA was pretty good too. I'm not sure how long if he's long for the game when a righty comes in, but producer Steve doing the old reverse jinx on Abbott. You mentioned versus righties, bigger walk rate than K rate versus righties this season for Abbott, which is generally unacceptable. That's just unacceptable. 11.8% strikeouts, 12.3% as far as the walks. Were the Reds in Rhodes by both you guys, and nobody moved the Reds up?
Correct.
Okay. I would put them higher personally, but nobody cares what I think because you guys agree, and we're going to move on. No.
He's wilding today, man.
He's on one for sure. He's playing with house money. He's still.
We can tell who he bet on. It's real easy. Reds to the top.
He's gone full Timothy Chalamet here in the background.
But speaking of wrestling, we got to get Danhausen at the Garden in Celebrity Row, right? That's got to be happening. Totally. I assume.
Yeah, it's got to be.
They got to make it. I mean, and also it's the tie-in with ESPN, and they're all in bed together. Yeah. Yep. So, ever since the curse, I think they won 10 or 11 in a row or something silly like that. Cole versus Noah Cameron. The Yankees have a 4.5 total. It's not a monster number. Goldie is leading off, Gold Dust, if you will, is leading off today versus the lefty. We did mention some of the other lefties are not playing. No Grisham, no Jazz, at least not to start the game. This is buy for. This is your board, Yankees and Royals against Garrett Cole, who was solid, but not really flashy in his first start.
Yeah, so I'm pretty torn on the Royals actually, because Garrett Cole has the run prevention was certainly there in his first start and has been okay. But if we're making fun of things like Andrew, I know the strikeout minus walk is not what we're talking about with Garrett Cole, but the ability to get whiffs for old Garrett Cole might not be around. Like, at least, like we're talking about Jacob deGrom is like getting older. Like, at least Jacob deGrom still gets people to swing and miss. Like, Garrett Cole has turned into just straight control guy who doesn't get strikeouts anymore. And that was already happening right before the injury. I know it was one start. I actually think the Royals are like reasonably appealing. I mean, Bobby Witt is always appealing. They have some upside bats. So I put them in Pedroia. Again, they're not anywhere near the top of my list, but it's similar to the Braves. It's a pretty solid offense. Not as good as the Braves, of course, but maybe not in the absolute best spot. But I'm intrigued by the fact that Garrett Cole can't get anybody to swing and miss anymore. So like maybe he's not going to be the guy that blows up the most on this slate, but you're going to get the ball in play a lot. And I think that there's some upside. So Royals, Pedroia for me. The Yankees, I'm disappointed in the lineup. Grisham and Jazz are two of the pillars of their offense. Like Austin Wells against the lefty, Ryan McMahon against the lefty. Ben Rice and Cody Bellinger can hit lefties, but it's not as appealing of a spot. So it gets pretty limited. I don't think Ahmed Rosario is going to hit 2 home runs again. I don't think Anthony Volpe all of a sudden became awesome. So they go in Dustin May for me. They're still too good to be like overlooked, and Noah Cameron is fine. I think Noah Cameron's maybe a little better than perception. I don't know what the perception is, but he's okay. In some spots, if Noah Cameron were facing the Mets today, I'd probably be playing Noah Cameron, but he's not. He's facing the Yankees. So tier 2 for the Yankees for me, largely matchup is just okay, and the lineup is not as good as it could be.
You do get some cheap New York bats, though. Not that I'm racing to play McMahon, but McMahon, again, I talked about the double barrel lineup. He might be in it. We got a cheap catcher in Wells, left on left. That's going to flip at some point in the game. Caballero, Volpe looks pretty good. I don't really believe he's necessarily good now, but he's been pretty good since getting called up, also being healthy. Beer, what do you got? Yankees in May, Kansas City, right smack in the middle with Dustin Pedroia.
Well, we've been on the same page for a lot of these, so I feel like I gotta, speaking of wrestling, we got to mix it up a little bit here, move some of these teams around, cause a little chaos. So
Beer's turning heel.
Nothing better than a good heel team. Always thought, if I could ever do that, or I want to be the bad guy.
Full Hulk Hogan NWO here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Who's the third man?
I'm gonna move Kansas City down. I think Garrett Cole is gonna end up being a better real life pitcher than for our purposes in DFS, if that makes sense. Like I don't know that he's gonna, go out there and have the strikeout upside he used to have. That being said, I don't know that he's going to get blown up a lot either. And when you look at this team, Witt's great, but not an ISO over 200 for any of these guys. Not a WOBA over 350 for any of these guys. So I just think that, they're kind of a less than middle of the road offense. If I'm looking at them paired with the Braves, I'd much rather have the Braves. So I'm going to move Kansas City down, and I'm going to elevate the Yankees up into the Dustin Hoffman tier. I mean, there are some guys in this lineup that are really hitting lefties well. I mean, they have 4 bats in the top 20 in all of baseball and ISO against lefties. So, Cameron's been solid, but it just feels like a guy the wheels could fall off at any moment with this guy. Still gives up a ton of hard contact. I think that bites him eventually. So there's just too many good bats, especially at the top of this lineup with Goldschmidt. Rice has hit lefties well. Judge, as we know, one of, if not the best bats on the slate. And Rosario has done well. So I think they're a top tier stack tonight against this lefty.
I am going to agree with you. Let's move the Yankees up to Hoffman. Kansas City's tricky. Yeah, I don't know with Garrett Cole, because it feels like he's just a year or two away from, retiring to his catamaran and just, fishing for the rest of his life or something like that. I did see his contract. He's got a couple more years left to go. It's still just 35. I don't know if he's going to go all Zach Greinke on us. But but let's see. Steve wants to move him to Rhodes. I mean, if he's just not missing bats, I know the Royals always seem to disappoint. I like him in the middle. I like the Royals in the middle.
This is the prime movable force meets the or whatever you want to call it, the stoppable force meets the movable object with the old Caglianone fella. It's not been great, but he can't make contact. He's very Spencer Jonesy. But if Cole's not going to get him to swing and miss, and he's going to give up fly balls, I like a couple of those lefties a little better than you guys do.
Well, we're not on home run calls, but it sounded like a home run call there for Jack Caglianone. Yeah,
big money on that thing.
The Jack Martingale, just eventually it's going to happen. Right?
That better be 4 digits. His home run props got to be plus 1,000 or higher.
Let's find out.
In the Tatis range, I suppose. Minnesota and the White Sox. Connor Prelip against David Sandlin. 8 total here. Minnesota taking on Chicago. Yeah, I prefer non-lefties against Chicago just because of Murakami and Montgomery. It doesn't mean they can't bang one out. They're super cheap otherwise. Vargas is going to get you. But, yeah, I mean, Hill and Luis Angel Acuna, who's been a disaster this year. You figure at least steal some bases. That's not really happening. Minnesota versus Chicago. Beer, set the board.
I'll start with Minnesota. The problem with this team, there's one bat you want. It's Buxton or bust for me with this team. It's really hard to get excited about anybody else. Even in a matchup, against an unproven 4K pitcher, you think you'd have a little bit more excitement for him. But that's where I'm usually at with Minnesota. Buxton will work in. The rest is trash. I mean, you Clemens, maybe. There's some good value here, but so I'm going to put them in the diamond tier, and maybe I need to up some exposure to the cheap pitcher here, but no excitement outside of Buxton. So Dustin Diamond was looking lonely, so I'm putting him there just to have a little companion for him. Dean, I really like the White Sox here tonight. Okay. You mentioned some of those lefties. They've hit lefties well. I do like Prelip. I think eventually, this guy can become a serviceable pitcher down the road, but feels more like a number 2, number 3 than an ace. But he has been impressive. But man, has this White Sox lineup been good. Now you have some of the guys that, the Grichuk's, things like that, yes, have a history against lefties, but he's cheap. Vargas has been maybe the best hitter in baseball against lefties. It leads the league in home runs, leads the league in ISO, second in WOBA. He's been playing incredibly well. So he's one of my favorite bats on tonight's slate and in this lineup, obviously. But again, even the Murakamis, Montgomerys, they've hit lefties well and with some power. So I'm gonna put the White Sox up with the Cubs in the Dustin May tier. So I don't know if that's a hot take, but this lineup's been so much better this season, and I think there's a lot of upside in this spot.
Eric, how do you feel about Beer's ambitious ranking of Chicago and Minnesota hanging out with, I guess at least the Turtles snubbed them, so we need somebody to hang out with. It's the Minnesota Twins. What do you got as far as Chicago and Minnesota?
I have the Twins just up 1, and it's not because I disagree with anything that Beer said. Other than Buxton, I don't like clicking any of these guys, but like a Cody Clemens is a pretty decent value. They're cheap, and we're on the hunt for cheap bats, and we just have a young pitcher who, like you said, has control issues and is we have him for 75 pitches. It's genuinely possible he doesn't even go 75 pitches. And so then you get into a unimpressive bullpen, probably the worst end of the bullpen pretty quickly. So they're more roads tier for me. And then I would just move the Sox down 1, just because the same thing, like the depth of the lineup, and then the lefties are the 2 big lefties, Murakami and Colson Montgomery, are the guys that you really, really want to play. And it's not that they can't hit a lefty, and Prelip's not going to be in the game forever either. So I think it's fine. I really like Miguel Vargas as well. Miguel Vargas. Is DraftKings still sending out the hey, here's your highest, you played this guy all the time. Miguel Vargas is going to.
That's your guy?
He's gonna be up there for. I mean, it's gonna be some crappy player like Jack that's gonna be on my list, but Vargas is a guy that I've been playing a ton. And another example of the White Sox knew that they weren't gonna win, and they traded Michael Kopech and Tommy Pham and Eric Fetty for Miguel Vargas, and it was a brilliant trade to give away literally nothing essentially for.
Vargas was blocked in LA. They're just too good. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
No, you're fine. So I have the Twins up 1 and the White Sox down 1, but I think that these are all reasonable.
Let me just, before you make your ruling, Dean, this is a White Sox team, second in the league in home runs against lefties, second in ISO, up there in WOBA. They've done very well against lefties this season.
You know what? I like Beer's passion. I like him doubling down. So let's keep Chicago in May. We're going to move Minnesota up the roads, though. I do have some Minnesota stuff, and I just can't put a team in Tier 5 with Screech against the pitcher who's never thrown in the majors. Who knows what we're going to get here? Locked in for 9. There's a lot of guys that are cheap. Buxton spectacular. We do have to pick up the pace here just a little bit, boys. 2 more games to go. I forgot how early the lock is. So knock out these last 2 games. 1 for FanDuel. Still waiting for a Dodger lineup. I wonder if we're waiting for Muncy, if he's going to play or not. Is that probably what's going on there? Well, it's still 4 hours. Okay. Houston, Texas, DeGrom, Burrows, Bime 4.
Oh God. Both both in roads, I guess. There's some home run potential on both sides, but I'm not stacking against DeGrom. If you want to like Jordan crazy off the wall home run hunt, sure. And the Rangers, I mean, that it's the matchup is like fine. They have a bunch of lefties in the lineup, but they're all terrible. And so the same thing, like there's some one-offs, so I don't want to put them all the way at the bottom, but they're pretty close to the bottom.
The Rangers DFA'd McCutchen, in case you missed it. I don't know if there's any reunion in Pittsburgh going to happen or if he's going to retire or what. But
that could be it for him.
Future Hall of Famer? Maybe?
I would say not a first ballot. He'll be one of them guys that probably lingers around, but I mean, a hell of a career for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's got a shot.
Any adjustments here, Beer?
Yeah, I'm going to move Houston down. Just not a ton of interest in this team. You know, you want to sell me on, you know, the home run potential, things like that. You know, that's the only appeal. Jordan, Walker, about the only 2 bats I'd really want. But, you know, I talked down on DeGrom earlier, but I don't want any Houston exposure. So, plus Screech can't hang out by himself, Dean. I mean, you got to give him somebody to chill out with since we moved the Mets. And I'm going to move Texas up. I mean, Burrows has struggled with lefties. He's given up a ton of home runs as well. Not quite to, you know, the level of Tyon, but 12 home runs this season. And lefties, you know, yes, the numbers are bad, but the random Jock Peterson, Brandon Nimmo's, Evan Carter's, there's still some power in that lineup that can give him fits. Plus, a lot of them are cheap. So I'm actually going to slide Texas up to the Dustin Pedroia tier. So Houston down 1, Texas up 1.
Okay, so I think you're not going to like my ruling, Beer, because Houston, I'm going to keep them where they're at because, well, DeGrom's just had those home run issues, and at least you got Jordan. And we have – Screech is going to have – don't worry, there's 1 more game left. He's going to have somebody to hang out with. I'm pretty sure – I feel pretty confident he's going to get to hang out with Kyle Karros and the boys. And I just don't want to – I just don't think Texas is, like, in the Kansas City, Atlanta tier. I think they're kind of right. I think they are where they should be. So, all right, last game. Colorado, Dodgers, kind of pinpointed this one, but Ohtani, biggest total on the board. No lineup just yet. Maybe we get Muncy, maybe we don't. Ohtani probably not hitting. But we are projecting Dalton rushing to start here. Colorado Rockies have a 2.37 team total. The Dodgers are minus 424. You just don't see that in baseball. Minus 424. Beer, where are the Dodgers and Rockies going?
All right, Screech. Here's your partner, as Dean alluded to. So, you know, slide Colorado in there. You want to play some Colorado. I just think it doesn't make much sense tonight. So if somebody's got an argument for anybody on Colorado, I'd love to hear it. Dodgers, an easy top-tier stack, even without Ohtani. Muncy in the lineup will obviously help. Sagano has had major issues with lefties. So, you know, that makes it better. Even if he's out, you know, Pages has been on fire. Betts back. They definitely belong, you know, team total, highest on the slate. So, you know, it doesn't take a ton of analysis to tell you Dodgers one of the best stacks on tonight's slate.
Any adjustments here, Bime4?
Nope.
All right. Recapping the board, updated power rankings of the board of Dustin's, Hoffman, Tier 1. Tier 1, that's Pittsburgh, the Yankees, the Dodgers, May, Baltimore, Tampa, both Chicago's. Tier 3, right in the middle, Pedroia, Atlanta, Kansas City, most popular tier. Shout out to Dustin Rhodes, a.k.a. Gold Dust. Detroit, the Angels, Boston, Minnesota, the Mets, Texas, Houston, Cincinnati, and all the way at the bottom, Dustin Diamond, aka Screech, hanging out with the Rockies. All right, just give me the TLDR, the quick recap as far as pitchers, Beer, before we go position by position real quickly.
I think Ohtani head and shoulders above the rest. I'm not a huge fan of this ownership on Jacob deGrom. As we mentioned, some of the power issues here, so I'd much rather go with Ohtani. If you're stepping down a little bit, I really like Casey Mize. Angels strike out at the highest rate in baseball against right-handed pitching, so really like them. Some intriguing plays in the mid-range when you're looking at pitchers, but I would find the money and get up to Casey Mize. And then if you're going cheap, you're trying to decide Sandlin, Gibson, Tong. It's Sandlin pretty easy for me. We mentioned Minnesota, not a lot of pop in that lineup outside of Byron Buxton, a strikeout-happy team, and a team that doesn't draw a ton of walks. So Sandlin, more of an MME play, but that 4K pitcher is certainly intriguing.
Eric, anything you want to add? By all means, go for it. Otherwise, jump to catcher, please.
No, I just think that you can. There are some guys in that Andrew Abbott, Bubba Chandler, Burrows tier or whatever that if you really need the savings to get some of the big bats, go for it. And you don't feel like doing the Sandlin thing, which trust me, I understand. Or especially just if in MME stuff, right? You're multi-entering. I think there's a decent chance some guy in that 6 to 7-ish K range has a decent game, and I think you're really just chasing a decent game, not like a major upside game from those guys. Catcher, let's see. Well, we don't have the Dodgers catcher, and that's going to be so that's going to be the theme. We have Dalton Rushing projected in the lineup. He would be my favorite catcher if he's in there. I assume he's going to be, but we shall see about that. Then. This is not a slate for me where a bunch of catchers stand out. I mean, you see no catcher projecting above Adley Rutschman at 9.6% for us. It's pretty spread out. Beer kind of alluded to that at the very, very beginning when we started with kind of some spread out stuff. And that's how I'm sort of treating catcher. If I need some savings, let me just go down Edgar Cuero or whatever, just something that can make something work and just hunt a cheap home run or like some 8 points from the catcher position. Cause it's pretty bad. Include them in your stacks, punt it off. I think there's not a lot of insight from the catcher position.
Anything you want to add, Beer? Go for it as far as catcher. Otherwise, jump to first base.
No, it's ugly. So it's really an attack or attachment to your stacks. We mentioned some of the teams we really like. So Wells with the Yankees, Rushing. If you really want Andy Rodriguez with Pittsburgh, Salvador Perez remains too cheap. If you're just looking for a one-off play with some upside, 3,300 is not bad, but I would stick with your stacks on these first base or catchers.
First base?
I like Ben Rice, lefty on lefty, like we mentioned. He's in the top 20 in ISO this season, so he's expensive if you want to save some money. I think Freddie Freeman is a fantastic play against Sagano at 4,900 tonight, so those are probably my two favorites. Michael Busch looks like decent value against Chandler at 3,900. Aranda in that same price point is kind of sneaky at 3,800. And I think Spencer Horwitz is one of the better values tonight. 3,300, a guy hitting leadoff against Jamison Taillon, who's home run prone, who sucks against lefties, and Horwitz, one of the best values tonight.
Eric, clean up first, jump to second.
Not much else. Jonathan Aranda, I think, is one of my favorite tournament plays. I like that game as we've talked more, Orioles and Rays, but other than that, it's all the same guys that Beer mentioned. Freeman, Rice. I don't know if he said Murakami, like a pay up. Nobody loves to play the lefty, especially when you're paying through the nose for it. And Paul Goldschmidt can still hit. Not great anymore, old Paul Goldschmidt, but he can still hit some lefties. Second base. Puke. If you thought catcher was bad, hold my beer, says second base. That's why Brandon Lowe is really appealing. He's 5,100. It feels awkward paying 5,100 for Brandon Lowe, but he's in the spot that we were clamoring about with Jamison Taillon. I also want lefties more than I want righties. I mean, it's fine, all of them against Taillon, but the lefties are great. I think lefties are better in that park. And Brandon Lowe has earned this price this year. He has a 409 expected WOBA against right-handed pitching, a 331 ISO. against right-handed pitching. Like, he's been awesome. So he's like, if you just want the best second base play, he's it for me. After that, I'm treating it very similar to catcher. Give me something cheap. Give me something within my stack. Whatever that may be for you. You like the Twins. Okay, Luke Keyshaw. He's not super duper cheap, right? But you can go down to you like those Rays. Carson Williams is absolutely terrible, but guess what? He's $2,100 if you like the Rays and you think they're going to score a bunch of runs. There was one other guy that I had here that I'm missing now. Oh, I don't know how to say. I don't know how to say his name, but I read How You Lee the first time this morning as Ho Lee it was another I thought was a creative player in MLB The Show, and it blew my mind when I saw it. So that I wanted to leave that because that's how bad second base is. Like there's a bunch of guys I don't even know who they are, and that's like half a second base.
Here, I don't know how much you want to add there at second. It's pretty gross. Otherwise, jump to third.
I wish I could add. It is. I'm surprised Brandon allows that higher own. To be honest, it's just this position's bad. So I think Chase Madroth is interesting. Just hitting leadoff against a lefty. You mentioned I really like the White Sox, but I think you go Lau and you figure the rest out. So third base, I love Muncy if he's in. Again, Sagano's big Achilles heel has been lefty, so keeping a light on for that. Love the spot for Caminero against a 4K pitcher. We don't know a ton about, but he's really hit righties well. So he's another guy, good shot at a home run. You guys mentioned McMahon for value at 2,500 is not bad. I mentioned Kobe Mayo against the lefty and Mats. I think 3,100. I'd rather that than McMahon if I'm going cheap. And then you do have Lee at a flat 2K. If you really need it. I mean, if you're going to go Shohei Dodgers, you're going to have to find some of these 2K guys. So he can be in the pool for that reason.
Third base?
Let's see. Yeah, Kobe Mayo, I think, jumps out. Steven Matz has been okay. But, again, sort of value hunting at some of these positions that are not like I really want to spend up on outfield. We want Brandon Lowe. We want Shohei Ohtani. Need some value. Nick Gonzalez as well in the Pirates. Lineup, and then I generally don't love Yandy, and I don't love Yandy as super chalk, but it is a nice little savings off of Caminero, and I know the bat always loves Yandy, and then I do think Muncy is my priority, but of course we're in wait and see mode on him. He got in the game at the end last night, hilariously, like he didn't start and then came in at the end.
One or whatever.
Yeah, very very strange. He recorded an out in the field, so I assume that means he's okay. I don't know. Maybe we get a little ownership discount is sort of what I'm hinting at because we're in wait and see mode on him.
Beer, knock out some shortstops, please.
Bobby Witt, if you have the money, stands out. It's another position. It's pretty top heavy with Witt, Ellie De La Cruz, guys like that. I like the discount of Mookie Betts. Easily the best stack on the slate. He's under 5K, so I think he's your best shortstop option. McGonigal starting to heat up again. If you're a believer in Soriano regression continuing, McGonigal's in play. And I'm going to go Bo Bichette here. And all you guys are hating on the Mets, but Andrew Abbott is not good. So 4,100, a good price on Bichette. Value, not a ton of value at this spot. You could punt it with a Williams, a Kim, something like that. Some cheap plays with your stacks maybe, but I think there's some decent prices here at shortstop.
Add what you want here, Eric. Otherwise, jump to the outfield and give me some homers.
Just Volpe, I think, mainly in Yankee stacks, I think is nice. And then Connor Griffin, hasn't been great so far. The major prospect for the Pirates, but if we like the Pirates and Tyone really is that bad, then maybe the strikeouts come down a little bit. For if he can put the ball in play, we know he can hit it a long way. So the price is a little uncomfortable, but it's going to keep his ownership down a lot. Outfield there is quite a bit. And this is where it's a little stars and scrubsy on the whole slate, but in the outfield, it is for me as well. We mentioned Valdez as Merlin Valdez for the Pirates. A lot of Pirates talk going on here, which I guess is fitting because we like them a lot. But he is 2,300 on DraftKings, and just go look at his FanGraphs page. It's a lot of power. It's plenty of strikeouts too, but hopefully we don't have to worry about that part of it today. He's the best punt. There's some other guys, just toss them in your stacks or do some savings or whatever. If you really don't believe in Garrett Cole, like Lane Thomas is down there. Like there's some bad names, but we need some savings today. But the top is wonderful. I mean, Aaron Judge against Noah Cameron is awesome. Pages for the Dodgers is just like always low owned because it doesn't feel right paying that price for him because this is a small sample of him hitting this way. Kyle Tucker on the flip side is going to be much more owned, but the ownership kind of lags behind because he hasn't been that great this year, but I think he's still Kyle Tucker. And then Teoscar is another Dodgers outfielder that I love because he's not going to be very popular. And it's kind of an awkward price point on a Stars and Scrubsian slate. And then I actually, as we've discussed the slate a little bit more, Beer called out the Angels, like from just like a power sort of home run hunting against Casey Mize and some right-handed power. You have both, obviously Mike Trout, but then you also have Joe Adell and you have Jorge Soler out here in the outfield that could easily hit one, maybe even two home runs tonight.
Is that your home run call?
No,
Angels?
I forgot because I was saving Captain Jack. Is we're gonna go with Esmerlin. Jack Gallianone is gonna hit a home run, and then we got to go something more at the top. I'm stealing Brandon Lowe for a home run.
Beer, whatever's left at outfield. I know Eric did a really good job covering it, and I want your homers as well. I want to knock out a couple questions as well before you step aside and get out of here.
High-end Judge and O'Neal Cruz stand out to me. Mid-range, I like PCA. I like these Texas guys more than you guys. So Nimmo, Evan Carter specifically, I think is good value. And if you don't like DeGrom, you got Trammell hitting cleanup. I know he doesn't have any home runs on the season, but rare do you get a 2K cleanup hitter. So I think he's pretty good value just for that spot in the order. Home runs, and I forgot to mention this guy at third base, and he's one of my favorite plays today. But I'm going to go Vargas. I got him at plus 470 for a home run. I'm going to go Horwitz, who I got at plus 680, and the aforementioned Evan Carter at plus 810.
I think Taylor Trammell hitting cleanup says a lot more about the Astros lineup than it does about Taylor.
For
Taylor
sure.
Trammell. I can't believe he might be the worst cleanup hitter. You want the mush? There's the mush. That is atrocious. But he is 2K. Yeah, Alex in the chat's asking about. I mean, you can play him, sure, but the most likely scenario is he strikes out. But yeah, I guess you can play him. Sure, why not? So DK Cash. Peterman wants to know, Eric, Taylor Ward or Brian Reynolds? Who's your last piece for cash?
Brian Reynolds.
Beer, New Generation, DK Tournaments, PCA or Brian Reynolds?
I'm going to stay with Reynolds. Love the Pirates tonight.
Eric 2v2 for cash, DK, NBA DFS, Mayo, Judge, Tucker, Caminero. It's Mayo, Judge.
Mayo, Judge.
Let's see. Those are the questions from the Discord channel that I pulled. Trying to see if there's any more. I know we're up against lock. Kind of rushed there at the end. Bad time management on my part. My apologies. We'll do better next time. If there's questions in the YouTube, let's see. Peter Porker wants us to rank these players. Beer. One-offs. Judge, Cruz, Alvarez.
Reverse the order. Judge, Cruz, Alvarez.
Yeah. Well, that's the way I read it backwards. Yeah. I do see somebody typing here. I'm going to give you a second in the Discord before we step aside and make way. I do believe we have a show tomorrow night, although it's only 3 games. That's going to be a fun one. I think it's myself, Chop, and Bobby, so there might be some nonsense. It is a 3-gamer. Blink's got a question for Bime for 5 Reds, 3 Pirates, Ohtani, and a 4K crapper. Is that different enough for a large field tournament? 5 Reds, 3 Pirates, Ohtani, and the 4K nonsense. Does that work for you?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Hammer, saying nice show. Yeah, good job all around. Mize or DeGrom? Beer, Mize or DeGrom?
I'm going Mize.
Eric, DeGrom or Soriano?
Oh, I'm still taking Soriano in tournaments.
Let's see. Do we think Dalton Rushing makes the lineup? I think he does. By the way, if you were watching the game last night, and it sounds like you were, Eric, did you see? I mean, Dalton Rushing's already embarrassed himself a couple times in this league. I don't know if you've seen 15-1. They're up 15-1, and he challenged the pitch 15-1, and it was center cut, like dead center, and the entire ball was in the square. The embarrassment that kid must. I mean, what are you doing? What are
We've hit lock, so I'm staying up and watching. I watched the basketball game, right? I'm staying up and watching the end of the game because I didn't have Dodgers, and I was having a very good night, and it was a fine night all around. I'm having a very good night, and I didn't have the Dodgers, so like every home run is just brutal, right? And so I'm watching the same thing, and like I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I'm just like, dude, what are you? You are wasting all of our time, and like you said, you are absolutely embarrassing yourself. So it's been a rough. As hot as he was early, it's been a rough stretch for old Dalton Rushing.
For sure.
It's funny because Will Smith, the professional catcher for the Dodgers, there was a ball that must have been like a foot outside, but it was thrown by the shortstop. And you saw him kind of turn to the umpire like he knew. The umpire called it a strike. And he's like, I know that's a strike. I'm not going to do the thing. I know it's 15-1. Let's keep this thing moving. Like it was kind of like, and the umpires, when they're 15, they'll kind of juice it up and they're like, let's just go home. Let's get out of here. And that's sort of what's happening there. And Will Smith's like, yeah, I get it. Dalton Rushing would have tapped his head so fast if that was him at the plate. But I'm still waiting for a team to take offense to that because that's one of the unwritten rules, right? Isn't it insulting to tap your head?
What do you think Jazz? What do you think Jazz would have done in that? Jazz might have got ejected for him.
Oh, no doubt.
Is this the Dodgers? Oh, we got the Rockies. Does anybody care to hear the Rockies?
No.
Do we care? No. Okay.
I'm more interested in the question in chat. Zima or what was it?
White Claw or
White Claw?
No.
Now this reminds me of a Jordan LeBron debate. Like it's going to depend on your age. Like the young folk don't even know what the hell a Zima is.
Didn't they bring it back for like a small stretch?
It lasted
Didn't they
about
bring
a week,
back?
I think.
Yeah.
The nostalgia. Everyone's like, "Oh, Zima. Yep, still tastes like shit." Gone.
I don't think I ever tried a Zima, but I remember Zima was a thing for. They tried to make it a thing, like it was Fetch or something with clear
cool name, cool advertising. They did a great job
too.
On everything except the actual product was really well done. Yeah.
Mr. Relevant says, "What time do we hear Ohtani is scratched because of his hand?" That's it's funny. I didn't think about that.
Don't say that.
I mean, they said it was precautionary. They said he was fine. I assume he's fine, but that's interesting. There's
something to keep an eye on.
Stuff. Right? It's the only game, but I assume he's fine. Now you planted that in my head, but okay. I assume they're waiting for Muncy, but like you said, they put Muncy in last night. I'm guessing they didn't put him in the IL. He's been out for like 4 games. I assume he's fine tonight too, but we shall see. That is the last game in town. Thank you, Stevie. On the way out, please hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications, hit all those buttons, hit all those things. We appreciate all that. Check out the links in our description for you get access to the bats and access to the player prop stuff, and you want to get yourself some combo, half off your first month for combo, all the sports, all the bells, all the whistles, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, WNBA, PGA, everything with the exception of NASCAR. All our tools, SimLabs, Dave Potts' fabulous article, the expert rankings. I too many things to mention. Have at it. Get the link in the description. Get yourself some premium. Eric, who wins? It's hockey tonight, right? You following the hockey? Do we care about the hockey?
I think Montreal tonight. Yeah, I'm following the hockey. It's great to watch the Avalanche lose. That was a wonderful time. We're not Stan Kroenke fans around these parts, so always nice.
Understood. Yeah, I just don't like Torts. I don't like that guy. But he won.
Well, they're not going to win the Stanley. Whoever wins,
they might. What do you mean? It's either them or the other team or Carolina.
They ran into some nice luck with the Avs injury issues. I think that really helped. I mean, it's sort of like the Knicks stuff where I'm like, man, this path for the Knicks was really easy. But it's all like to beat everybody by 30 is a little bit different than just scraping. Like the Cavs scraped by through two rounds. The Knicks just obliterated everybody. So the Knicks got a chance, but I give me whoever wins Carolina, Montreal.
Has Steve already checked out? Did he hear you just taking some shots there at New York? I'm not sure if he's turned his mic off and he's ready to go, but he doesn't like that. He doesn't like the disrespect.
Wemby and SGA are not Joel Embiid and James Harden, okay? This is a whole different can of worms in the finals.
We own the Spurs. What do you mean?
Own.
How many times has New York played Wemby?
Three times this season.
3 times as an ownage?
How about the Thunder, brother?
It's one away from a sweep.
Okay.
One away from a sweep. Is that like analytically winning a series? Is that what that is? Yeah.
You're also going to play the Thunder, by the way.
I know we're playing the Thunder.
He's hoping for the Spurs.
Yeah, I am. We're playing the Thunder. We're playing the Thunder and the refs. Sorry.
Oh, come on.
Oh, here we
God,
go.
here we go. I got to take
Here
a
we go.
vacation during the finals so I don't have to deal with that.
That was Eric. That was Beer. I was Dean. Shout out producer Steve. Again, hit that like button on the way out. We're back tomorrow. 3 games. It should be fun. Go win something tonight. We're out of here. Oh,